everybody. Hope you're doing great. Happy Tuesday, and welcome once again to my live. Today, we're covering 3 things that you are doing to derail your project timelines. So, I am very excited about this one because I see these things happen time and time again. And I'm sure you don't even realize that you have opportunities in your process that can avoid these kinds of problems. So we're going to talk through it today. If you're new to me, I am Jeannie Andreessen. I'm a business coach to interior designers, and my goal is to help interior designers establish and maintain client and project control. So here, as people are joining, here's what I would love for you to do. I would love for you to drop a 1 in the chat if your clients have ever been the one to derail your timeline. So I want you to drop a 1 in the chat in the comment section, and I want you to tell me if it's ever happened to you where your clients have been the one to derail your timeline. So if that, and as I say your timeline, I'm like, it's their timeline too. So, sorry, I need to put my phone on Do Not Disturb next time. So my next question is, what did they do? Because I'm seeing ones. What did they do to derail that timeline? What are the things that they did to derail that timeline? So I wanted to talk through this today. I shared with you that I see these things happen time and time again where my clients are coming to me always with client problems. That's honestly what I'm here for. I am here to take all of your client problems and help either coach you through it or mentor you through them to create a successful result. So my clients bring me all their client problems, and typically they are in the form of initially complaints, naturally, and then they go into like, what's going on? What do I do? And the reason why I want to spend time on this today is because it's very easy to blame the client for being difficult. There are dream clients out there, and you might wonder where they are. You might look at your client load and be like, oh, there are dream clients out there. Like, why aren't they coming my way? There are dream clients out there. There are clients who respect your boundaries without excessive explanation. There are clients out there who trust you and just go with every single thing that you basically say. There are clients out there who are incredibly decisive, who get back to you promptly, who have just wonderful communication skills, and who don't want to spend any of their precious time doing any design. They want to leave it all to you. Those clients exist. Now, there are also clients, probably that you've encountered before, who are not exactly like that. There are clients who are just challenging. They take their time getting back to you, like their precious time and your precious time getting back to you. They take a ton of time to do that. They maybe drag their feet on making decisions. They change their mind constantly. They're contacting you all the time. Those clients exist too. And when my clients come my way with those kinds of clients and share with me what's going on with them, it's very easy to point the finger at the client and say, this is just a challenging client. And while I agree with that, like, yes, you may just have a challenging client, what I have also found there are plenty of opportunities to actually make them less challenging and train them to become a good client. So I want to talk today about 3 things you're doing wrong in your own process that are derailing your own timelines. Because the truth is, there are just opportunities in the process. So the first thing that I want to cover here, because I think that this is definitely the most crucial and it happens so early in the process, is you aren't qualifying. This is the first thing that you're doing wrong that's derailing your timelines, is that you aren't properly qualifying your clients in the process. So what does that mean when I say like you aren't properly qualifying your own clients in your process? When you qualify your clients, it means that when a new prospect comes your way, you are asking strategic, intentional questions to determine, is this a good prospect or is it not? What I have seen is that when you aren't intentional about your process, when you're not intentional about those questions, you're very quick to just let somebody kind of onto the phone. I think everybody should hop on a discovery call, pretty much always. Discovery calls are a good thing. And you're maybe asking questions about like what they're looking for in a designer and what they're looking for in their design, what their style is, and then you commit to going to their home for a client consult. This is what I see over and over again. There were no expectation setting in the discovery call, no conversation to define budget or at least get close to the budget. There weren't enough questions asked to determine, do I even like this person? Is this person giving me red flags? It's hard to know if somebody is a red flag prospect when you're not asking good enough questions that allow their red flags to come through. I always bring up dating when I'm talking about the client process because it's the same thing in dating. When you are on a date with somebody and you're only talking about surface level stuff, it's hard to see red flags come through. You've got to ask the deeper questions. You've got to ask the question beyond the question in order to determine, is this somebody who I want to go on a second date with? But when you keep everything really surface level, what are you looking for in a partner? What are you looking for in a designer? Like when you keep, what are your hobbies? Like when you keep things really surface level, it's hard to let their red flags come through. So when you're keeping something really surface level, it's very easy to commit to going on a second date, which is you going out on a client consult, which makes me cringe because that can be such a major waste of time. Discovery call is one thing. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't even have to get ready. You don't even have to brush your hair. You just hop on a call and you could talk to somebody. A client consult? You are prepping a bag. You are driving somewhere. You're getting ready. You are going into somebody's home. And there is a point when all of that is taking place where you may realize this is not an ideal client. And you might not know what to do about that at that time. So you keep dating this person. You commit to a proposal, you send a proposal, they say yes, and now you're in a relationship with somebody that you would have declined from the discovery call if you would have asked the right questions. I feel like I need to take a breather. Is this helpful? I'm like, we have a couple people on right now. Like, is this helpful? I'm going to take a sip of my tea. You give me a little insight as to like, is this helpful so far? Is this resonating? Also, did you guys notice that I'm a little nervous to use the word styled my shelves, but that I like added some stuff to my shelves and this is my like first draft of it. Finally, we got some stuff up there. I was very productive this weekend. Okay. When you aren't qualifying your clients properly, you let in to your business not great clients. And those not great clients are typically people who were really indecisive, and you let them be indecisive because you didn't have a conversation about that from the beginning. They're unrealistic because you didn't realistically set expectations from the beginning. Or they're just unprepared and they're like constantly scatterbrained of like, they can't even decide what the scope of work is going to be. They change it every time you see them. And what I'm trying to say is, yes, those clients, that's on them. They're very difficult. But the part that's on you is that you let them become a client of yours. That's the part that you've done where you're walking into this client relationship, you're quoting out timelines that no matter what, you've set yourself up for failure from the beginning. I want you to find all these things out in the process. I want you to find out budget. I want you to establish a clean timeline. I want you to set expectations, manage expectations, set realistic expectations. I want you to do all of that from the very beginning, so that everyone's on the same page as you enter into a project and you've already kind of trained them to become a good client of yours. Or you realize that they're not going to be a good client and you decline them. That is what I want for you. So that is number one thing that you are doing to derail your own timelines. Emily says, yes, I tend to always think maybe the project will grow or client will be better in person. Oh my gosh. We've all been there. Like all of us. This is how you get started. And I don't mean to say that in any insulting way because I don't know how long you've been in business. But when I say this is how you get started, it's like, yes, in business, this is the beginning of it. And that beginning could last years if you don't learn how to be more intentional and thoughtful in your question asking or in your gut checking from the very beginning. I mean, people will spend their entire business saying yes to everybody and not figuring out a more thoughtful or strategic way to be able to qualify their clients before going out even on a client consult. And we all want the business. I mean, I'm the same way. I'm a business owner too. Like we all want the business. What I'm trying to say is if an undesirable prospect is in front of you in the beginning and you don't see it, you are going to see it later when the stakes are much higher. Kind of like an unideal red flag boyfriend who in the beginning everything seems great because we're not asking deeper questions or we're not more intuitive with ourselves, or maybe we just really want a boyfriend. That will not change the end, which is this is not an ideal boyfriend and it's just going to become messier later on. I'm going to pause here because I just watched the Gabby Petito documentary last night. Did anybody else see that on Netflix? I'm very shook by it. I literally shed tears in like the third episode. It was so sad and hard to watch. So when I'm thinking, I'm literally like, this is getting deep because I'm thinking about a literal red flag bad boyfriend. And I'm like, who like murdered his girlfriend, fiance. Oh my God, I can't. Okay, sorry. That just got dark and deep. But if you haven't seen it, it just got released on Netflix and if you're a true crime fan, it's a very good documentary. It's also just incredibly sad. All right, let's come back to less deep things, which I think is important to keep that kind of perspective, actually. Like, this is not a life or death thing here. We're just figuring out how to run our businesses more efficiently, more profitably, in a more fulfilling way for all of us. Number 2 thing that you're doing wrong, I hate to put it that way. I'm like, I didn't put it that way in the title. I didn't say 3 things you're doing wrong. I just said 3 things that you're doing that are derailing your timeline. I feel like calling them wrong is so aggressive. So hang with me. Emily, you say, do you leave the discovery call open-ended for me to then part ways with them after if they aren't a good fit? Oh my God, that's such a great question. How do you leave the discovery call open-ended? That is such a great question. You like, happy to cover this one. Let's do it. You just, if it's not the right fit and you're on a discovery call, you're going to say, thank you so much for all this information, Mrs. Prospect. This is really helpful. I'm going to chat with my team. Like, I hope you're writing this down. I'm going to chat with my team and we're going to take a look at the projects we've already committed to. And we'll circle back. You could say one of two things. You could say, we'll circle back if we're able to take this on. That leaves you like not on the hook at all to get back to them. Or you can say, we'll circle back either way if this is a project that we feel we may be able to take this on. And that way you can send a follow-up email that just says, we took a look at everything. Unfortunately, I don't think that this is going to fit in with the things we've already committed to. And we encourage you to find another designer. Thank you so much for considering us. I should do a, thank you for that one. Cause I'm like, I should do a actual reel with that language so that you can say, I mean, I hope you probably just wrote it down, but, so you can save it and, go back and rewatch this. Was that helpful? I'm like, this is the kind of stuff that's in my brain that you're probably like, how the hell did she just come up with that right now? It's because I ran a business very similar to yours in my old life. Okay, number 2, reason. Amazing. I'm glad you like that one. Okay, number 2 reason. Number 2 thing you're doing wrong. That is derailing your timeline. I'm going to tell you a story and then I'm going to tell you what the problem is. So one of my private clients came my way. And she said, Jeannie, I really need help with this one client. And then she described the client situation to me. And she said, this client seems excited. She's really nice. I like her. And we have great conversations. And then she disappears. Those were the words that were used. She disappears. And I'm wondering if I could send you a couple of the emails so you can like just kind of take a glance at what's going on, like, and see if you could tell me, yeah, what's going on. So I'm like, 100% send me some email correspondence. So I was reading through these emails and I'm going to tell you right now, I saw no red flags. So I read through the emails and I said, okay, I read through these emails. What's the problem? And the problem was that the person seems excited, but they then don't get back to my client for like an entire month later. And my client is getting sick of it. Like, are you in or are you out? Has this ever happened to you? Drop a 1 in the comments as if this has happened to you. So I said, I see 0 red flags with this client. 0. What I see are opportunities for you to be a better and more proactive communicator. More or less, my client's follow-up was weak. And and this is a new client of mine, so this isn't someone who's gone through Client Success Academy or anything like that. When I see that, and I see this weak communication, you just cannot make a judgment about somebody else when you haven't created enough structure for this to be for this client to successfully either follow through or fail to follow through. So here's what I mean by that. Your clients are busy. You're busy. Your clients are busy. And you might say, no, they aren't. You might say, no, they aren't. My client is a stay-at-home mom and has a full-time nanny and they're not busy. Okay, fine. But let's go with your clients are busy. there's probably a good amount of your clients that do work full time, and there are also probably a good amount of your clients who are moms. That alone is overwhelming. Especially, I mean, some of them are probably business owners. I mean, think about their lives. That is overwhelming. That's a lot at once, especially if they have multiple children, not just like one kid, but like maybe like 3 or 4 or 5. I feel like I know 3 people lately that have like announced that they're having their 5th child. I'm like, what are you doing? Whoa. Okay. Also a tangent. So they're busy and they might be overwhelmed with their own lives. They just like are getting pulled in all the different directions. And then on top of that, this person might get overwhelmed with decision making, which means when you're giving them a decision to be made, they may do their best making decisions by taking all the time in the world to make them. What I'm trying to say is these people may not be excited to move forward with working with you. They probably really, really, really want to, but they're busy and overwhelmed in their lives, and you're allowing them to take their time in getting back to you because you are not communicating otherwise. How do you get on top of this? By communicating better, sending really clear, consistent follow-up, and constantly setting deadlines. I want you in every one of your follow-up emails to have clearly laid out, here's your homework, Mrs. Client. And there might not be a lot of homework. I hope that there isn't, because technically that means that you're very much in charge and driving it and you guys are making decisions in meetings, but that's not always the case. And so when you're not setting deadlines, they just think that they have all the time in the world to get back to you because you haven't communicated otherwise. But when you say, Mrs. Client, here's your homework, I want you to make decisions on these 3 things if possible. Could you get back to me by middle of next week and give an actual date? I'm like, I don't even know what middle of next week on February 25th, let's say. So I want you to say that. By February 25th, would you be able to get back to me on these things? That is how you create urgency. That's how you give your clients opportunities to succeed or fail at getting back to you on time. If you've set 3 dates that they don't ignore entirely and don't communicate otherwise, it's totally fine. If it's the if you say, can you get back to me on February 25th? And they say, I actually can't. I have a lot going on that week. How about March 3rd? That's great. We don't care that much. Those couple dates are not going to make or break you. Or if they will, communicate that, but they're not going to make or break you. The whole point is that there is a structure that then allows you to come back and say, hey, Mrs. Client, it's March 3rd. Can you give me a sense of where you're at on this decision? I've allocated March 5th to placing orders for you, hoping that we can move that forward. And when you aren't creating that kind of structure, you are creating no structure, and no structure is not how things get done on time. If anybody watching this has employees, this is also how you get employees to perform well. It's a very similar experience, very similar. You have people who are working under you more or less that you need to move. You have to figure out, like, is this person on the bus or are they off the bus? If they're on the bus, they're going to get things done. They're going to communicate well. They're going to, hit deadlines. Same thing for your clients. All of that is the same. But when you give them 3 dates and they don't get back to you on time, or they're constantly asking for more time, or they don't seem to be prioritizing this, you then have some ground to stand on to say, Mrs. Client, I want to have a conversation with you because our timeline has been derailed because we've had these experiences. because we've had 3 instances where you haven't gotten back to me on time with decision making. And that is how you create just urgency and opportunities to determine, is this somebody who's going to complete this project? Is this project going to be at a timeline that is going to still work out for everybody? Or is that not going to be the case? And it makes sense to part ways with this person so you're not driving yourself nuts and you don't feel like you're pulling teeth to get them to do something. Is this helpful? Is this resonating? Please let me know in the comments if this is helpful or this is resonating. So yes, your clients may be dragging their feet. They might not be as prompt as you wish that they were, but your opportunity in all of this is to create a structure that allows this project to be successful and on time and all of these things that you promise in the very beginning. And then if that's not going to be the case, you're communicating otherwise, but you've given them opportunities, not because you left all the balls in their court. That's unfair. It is unfair. I follow that interior design community, and I encourage everybody to follow interior design community, the Instagram handle, because I love that they're always posting questions of like that designers are struggling with. And I see some of these and it's like, my client, is upset because their timeline is now pushed back, by 6 months, but they've been dragging their feet. They haven't made decisions. They've made 3 changes. Okay, well, where is your responsibility in that? You have responsibility in that. And I want anybody who's following me to recognize and start owning those opportunities. That is what I want for you. All right, number 3 thing that you are doing that is derailing your own timeline. Let me have another sip. You're letting scope creep happen. I know, it's your client's fault. They keep putting more stuff on your plate. They keep changing their mind. They keep pulling you into something else. You went to their home for one thing that day and they pulled you in a different direction. You were at their home the entire day. And that wasn't how you were planning on spending your day. You not only felt like you lost and wasted a ton of time, but you also didn't get accomplished what you were planning on getting accomplished that day. And that is really frustrating. I agree with you. But every single time that happens, you have an opportunity to say no, communicate otherwise, or control the conversation, the meeting, the agenda, much more than you currently are. When you show up to a client's home for a meeting without an agenda, you are honestly walking into a client's home hoping that they are ready, sitting, ready, waiting to just hear what you have to say and to follow every single thing that you suggest or have on your mental agenda. And that is a wonderful way to let things spiral out of control. In order to have control, you have to take control. And taking control often looks like putting an agenda together in advance, letting the client know exactly where you're going to spend your time, letting your client know exactly how much time this meeting is going to end up being. Emily, yes, writing and printing copies of an agenda has helped you with that. Amazing. Like, that is how you keep somebody on track. So when they say, actually, I wanted to pull you over here to get your thoughts on this thing, you have opportunities to say no. Now, there are a few different ways you can go about doing this. One in particular is saying, Mrs. Client, would love to help you with that thing. Unfortunately, I only have 90 minutes allotted for this meeting. And we have, as you saw, a lot of things to cover. I want to make sure that we prioritize effectively. If we have any time remaining, we can go talk about this thing. That's not you committing to scope creep. That's you committing to just talking about something. Let's make that clear. The goal is, though, you have no time remaining. If you prepped your agenda well, you have no time remaining, and you know that. But you said something that allowed them to say, okay, yes, that makes sense. That feels good. Perfect. Okay. And then when you get pulled in, let's just say there's time remaining and they pull you into something else. That's when you get to communicate, Mrs. Client, this would be adding a new scope of work on top of our agreement that we have in place already. Let me go back to the office. Let me crunch some numbers. This would be more money. This would be more time. Is that something that you want? And you put it out there. You put it out there so that they are able to answer that question themselves instead of you determining it for them. When you just keep saying yes to things and not communicating that this is more time and more money, they don't realize that. That's on you to communicate. You can't assume any of this stuff. You're constantly assuming that your clients get this. They don't. Is it obvious? Yes, to you, to me, of course. But to them it isn't. And you know it isn't because you've spent enough time with this client and these kinds of clients to start picking up on what is not obvious. So we have to start creating these, again, more opportunities that don't allow scope creep, that communicate that things will be, timeline will be adjusted. The fees will be adjusted. This will be more money. We've just got to communicate those things so that they are able to say yes or no to that. Now you absolutely have a say on this. If the answer is no, say no. If the answer is no, you just communicate no. Unfortunately, we've committed to this scope of work. I want to make sure we complete that first before we start talking about anything else. That is how you take control. The biggest difference between how you might be currently operating versus what I'm recommending is you may currently be operating by your thinking your clients have all of this power over your process just because you work for them. And what I'm trying to offer is that that's not true. You work for yourself. You work for yourself. You have processes in place. You have policies in place. You have certain ways of doing things that work for you, that allow you to be profitable, that allow you to be successful, that allow you to end your projects on time. You have things in place that allow for all of that. But when you let your clients determine all of that, you really give them all the power to control your process. And that's why things keep feeling, not only are they derailed, but they just you feel very powerless. I'm just trying to offer that does not have to be the case. Listen, I intentionally called this live 3 things you're doing that are derailing your timelines, because originally I was going to call it something like 3 reasons why your timelines keep getting derailed. But I could see you looking at that and saying, yeah, well, it's because so many issues come up in design because this thing came broken, because this thing came incorrect, and I had to place a new order, and now we're waiting for another 6 months for a couch. There are plenty of things in your business that are inevitable that may derail your timeline. Without a doubt. Where I come in is I want to help you own anything that is preventable. That is what I want. I want you to not only start seeing all the opportunities in your process where you have more power and more control than you realize, but also that you begin to seize those opportunities. It's one thing to see them, it's another thing to seize them. It's another thing to say, I now see this opportunity and I'm going to get on top of it. I'm going to learn how to communicate differently. I'm going to communicate differently. I'm going to create a new process. I'm going to show up differently with this client. Instead of saying, it's scary to say that, so I'm just not going to go there. I'm just going to let this client do whatever they want. Not the way I want to run my business. You don't have to run your business that way either. There are just opportunities in your process to make your business more efficient, more profitable, and more enjoyable. Not only for you, but more enjoyable for your clients too. When I talk about the client process, and when I teach on the client process, it's so funny because I think we all think, oh my God, when a client follows our processes or our policies, like we're the only one that benefit from that because we're the ones making money from it. And it's true, like you will make more money when you have a better client process, 100%. When you have better boundaries, you'll make more money, you'll work more efficiently, and you will be happier. And at the same time, I deeply believe it's the same for your clients. They might not be necessarily making more money. They might in the long run because you're working more efficiently. So it's very, very possible that they spend less money because you are going to be you're going to be setting better boundaries. You're going to be asking for kind of quicker turnaround times. Their project won't be so delayed, so they'll actually get what they want sooner. But also they have a better client experience overall because you have taken control, because you're a phenomenal communicator. They get what they want to out of that. The bad clients, maybe not, but we're not worried about them. We're just talking about the clients that we know are good, but we just have to create a process that allows the two of you to do what you do best. Allows you to design the way that you do best, and it allows them to chime in exactly and only exactly where we need them to be chiming in, and beyond that, not too much more. Because that allows you to do what you do best, which then brings a better more successful result in the end. When I think of where to get started, I have a guide to create a free guide to creating bulletproof boundaries in your business. I actually pulled this up. I was like, let me refresh my memory on like what I put in here. It is phenomenal. I pull this up and I'm like, there's a checklist of what boundaries to set in your business. There's then exactly where in your process I recommend you communicate that boundary. There are scripts to communicating these boundaries. You can get that at the link in my bio or by commenting boundaries, and I'll DM it to you directly. So I would start there because that just opens your eyes to recognize, okay, so these are the things that are recommended to be decided on and communicated throughout your process to help streamline a better result, a more successful result for your clients. So that is where I would get started. I'm gonna pause and kind of like end here because I feel like we've covered so much today. So much today. For anybody who's still on with me, what is the like number one thing you're taking away from this live? I would love for you to drop in the comments. Like, what are you taking away from this live? What stuck out to you the most? What like one thing did I say? Do you feel like is resonating with you enough that you're now thinking differently about how you interact with your clients or how you're running your business? My tea is now cold. This is what happens. Like, what do we still have on? Let me know. What is standing out to you? Carolina, reason number 3. I feel like I want you to tell me more. Why number 3? Emily, interested to see the tips for setting boundaries and love the way you handle the end of your discovery calls, right? I have a lot more in this noggin. This is why my clients come my way for like all client problems, is because they're like, how do you like know what to say and how to handle this? And my recommendation is you not only take that like script I gave you, but you memorize it, because otherwise you'll be very tongue-tied on your discovery calls. And I want you to have that be rattled off as effortlessly as I just rattled it off too. That's how you start getting really good at this, truly. It's just like, have it in there. And that way, when you're on the call and you're realizing someone's not the right fit, Mrs. Client, or Mrs. Prospect, thank you so much for sharing all this with me. I'm going to chat with my team. We're going to take a look at, now that I know your scope of work a little bit better, we're going to take a look at our projects and what we've already committed to. We'll circle back if we think it's a good fit. You can also ask on there, are they interviewing other designers? So that way, if they say yes, then you can also say, I know you said you're interviewing other designers. Like, I think that's great. Keep, talking to them. We have a pretty busy client load, but we'll circle back if we can make this happen. You can also say something like that too. Carolina, I failed to use this one. It was a nightmare. Didn't say no to add-ons. Ugh. It does become a nightmare. You literally let something slip out of your fingers. Like it's that tangible. It really is. It's that tangible. It's you have control, and then so quickly you don't. And when it slips out of your fingers, it takes a lot to figure out how to regain that control again. And I'm telling you though, it's possible for you. It's totally possible. But the best way that this goes is that we prevent it from happening from the beginning, because we get really good at having good processes, communicating effectively, saying no, having good boundaries. That's how we hold on to the control. That's how we establish, and that's how we maintain control. Okay. Thanks for hanging with me today. Those of you who joined me live, anyone who's watching the replay, thank you for watching the replay. Head to the link in my bio to snag the Bulletproof Boundaries Guide and checklist and scripts and all the things that are in there. And I will be back next week for another live. I'll see you then. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Take care. Bye, friends.